Hello, welcome everybody. This is Vanessa Donaldson with Your Life Beyond the Military, and I'm so excited today. We are talking about all things books and creativity. I've got Mel Antler with me, and we're both going to be talking about a book, that collaboration that we both actually worked on together with a group of, what was it, like 20 authors.
Yes, 20.
So 20. So yeah, really excited. It's going to be coming out in January. So we want to share that with the world and let our voices be heard. So we're just going to get a little more intimate here and talk to, two of us, two of the 20 so far, to see what this is all about. So we'll just open up with a few questions and we'll be on here for a few minutes and just dive a little deeper to the book, which is called I Love our publisher, who's been giving us a lot of visuals. We don't have it in hand. Um, when you flip it to
Not
the other
yet.
side,
Not yet.
not yet, but
Yeah.
it's coming. You flip it to the other side, then it's I love me because. So all of this love, I mean, the world need more love. So, and it can be a person, place, or thing. Those were our parameters for writing this book. So I'm dying to find out what Mel did and get to know, because I can't read it yet, and see exactly like what first of all inspired you to join this whole book collaboration of love.
So I've known our publisher, Hollis Citron, um 30 plus years.
Oh
Her
wow.
husband was actually a college roommate of mine.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Okay.
yep, he owned this, like, I don't want to say horrible, but horrible little house in a horrible little neighborhood. It was really inexpensive, so I lived there for a couple of years. It was great. Um, and so we've just sort of stayed close ever since then. They've traveled across the country. Our lives all went in different directions, but then somehow we're now back in the same state. And she called me, she emails me all about her projects all the time, and she was like, look, I have this one, are you interested? And I was like, okay. I mean, everybody has experience with love. I might have something to contribute, so I said yes. And then she sent me all the parameters, and I immediately panicked because I was like, I have to like talk about something in my mind that seems so very intimate,
Yes.
personal, um, and really does show, to love and be loved, you have to be vulnerable. So that, it was a little scary at
Mm-hmm.
first.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
once I sort of like just stepped back and tried to see it from a multitude of angles that made sense for me, then I was able to sit down and really write it rather quickly,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on question one, and then we'll move on to a few other questions. So, for myself, what inspired me to, again, is the theme of love. I've got a lot of positive energy. I'm a life coach, so I'm always about the glass is half full and keep it positive. We've got so much negativity and hate in the world. So I didn't even know Hollis. Here you go, knowing Hollis for 30 something years. I didn't even know her. I saw a LinkedIn post from someone else I know,
mm,
who was actually my professional photographer, and Laura Harstead. That's another plug. We got to plug her. She was amazing. And so she mentioned Hollis's book, and I just saw the topic on love, and I said, well, let me click on this link. And then I read through the parameters again and what she's looking for. And I said, oh my gosh, I don't know who's going to be part of this book, but I'm jumping in. I'm jumping all in. And we were just in the middle of camping through Canada and Alaska all summer. So I'm in the van. If you're wondering, people ask me, what kind of size window is that behind you? I'm in the van and we're fishing in the Keys, fishing and camping right now. Our Florida home is rented out for a few months. So we're going to go and, work remotely and do our thing. My husband's retired Marine. So I saw this LinkedIn post and I ended up talking to Hollis. I mean, it was one of the few calls I had in 5 months with people. We were so off grid, but when things are meant to be, they're meant to be. We just connected when I had reception, and then I was in, and I thought, oh gosh, okay, person, place, or thing. I like that you have some flexibility with that title too. It could be anything. Some people are doing stuff on pets. It could be a color, like you name it. But this coffee table book, which somehow on each side meets in the middle, is going to be incredible, and it's also turning into an art show in a year or so, which that's like a little bonus. We didn't expect
yes.
that. So anybody that's going to be in the area, you might be going there in person with her. I think in New Jersey, right? Probably around where
I
you.
am in New Jersey. Yes. The show is in
Okay.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is
Okay.
too far from
Not
where I live.
full.
So I'm
Everything
very
on.
excited about that.
So yeah, so that's just a cool extra, addition of this book that's really, it's a movement. We've been having coaching
Yes.
calls, and it's more than just one little book, a one and done thing. This is a movement. It's a movement of love. We'll be having hashtags that go along with it, and there's love threads getting weaved through the book visually. So excited about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how we both connected with Hollis in this book. So very cool to know. I had no idea you guys were go back that long, which makes it better for me jumping in with someone complete stranger, right? You have
Right.
just a few reviews or like one word of mouth from somebody, but now I'm talking to someone who's
Yeah.
lived with or known her whole for 30
Yes. I was
years.
at
So
their
that's
wedding.
awesome. Oh my God, I was
They
waiting
were
for
at
that to come
mine.
up. First you said the roommate thing, and I'm like, there's probably a wedding connection too. So yeah, you were at her wedding. So there you go. And I'm sure because of your line of work, you're an art teacher at a school, like you bring so much creativity and value to the content that she provides. So it's just like you have to be in
Yes.
each other's lives. So, and Hollis is the one that actually has started to open my eyes to me thinking I'm creative, because I was not that art student that could use a paintbrush and, sketch beautifully and
Yes.
create and doodle. So in my mind, I've been telling myself this lie again, since I'm a life coach, we got to look at our own lives too, saboteurs. Uh, I should have done a disclaimer. I apologize if we keep freezing. It's because I'm camping and there's a wind coming. So if we freeze a little, it's the wind. I'm so sorry. But yeah, so the lies that were telling me, like, you're not a creative person. You don't do art. You're not creative. And then that one phone call with Hollis, and she's like, you have so much creativity in your lifestyle, and like you do the van life and you travel to these amazing places and you're in nature, and like this is a whole other different level of creativity. I
Yeah.
never thought of it that way. I thought I don't use a paintbrush and a what's it, pencil and an easel and a stand, so I'm not creative. But now she just opened that up, so I'm like, yeah, I do have some creativity to show the world. So Hollis, she's amazing. We'll
Yes.
get to know her
Yes.
more in a separate
Yeah,
call.
she's awesome. I'm,
So
I'm
going
very
on to
thankful for her.
Yeah. So going on, digging a little deeper now, what are the key themes and messages that are going to be in your little part of the book?
So um we had to write two essays for the book. One, the I love you because, and the other one, I love me because. And I will say that it was the writing the I love you part was a lot easier. Um, because in my life, my experiences, there have been moments where I have felt like those large steps forward. And I know, like, it's happened in my artwork. I know that's kind of a weird comparison, but there's been moments where I've been like, oh, I get it now. Like something opens up and I'm like, I see it, I get it, it's part of me. And so that happened to me as a young person, actually, when I was in college. And I met someone who really changed my perception of how we interact and relate to one another. And so I wrote about that experience as the sort of like understanding and accepting, like just being conscious. The word I use a lot is cognizant,
Mm.
of being cognizant of your like your personal power, your movement, and your engagement with another person. It's kind of hard to describe without
Hmm.
sounding like completely gooey and weird.
Okay. So
It's
that
sort
was
it
on the I
like,
love you side.
yeah, it's really like an ode to this person who completely changed how I viewed almost everything.
So it was a real person in your life that you were writing
Yes.
about.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
I'm gonna try and convince them to show up at the opening.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps
Yeah, we're,
now.
we're still
That's so cool.
friends. We're still friends. So
Oh, so
I'm
cool.
hoping it. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of ifs there.
Oh, oh my goodness. Okay.
He's not my
So
husband. Wait, I should say that he's not my husband.
exactly. And let's do that disclaimer, which is funny. That ties right into my story because my messages and themes is all around my husband.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
so it's funny because I'm doing all this little writing and drafting, and I'm trying to keep it all secret. I was trying to have it time with his birthday or our anniversary. We just hit our 27-year anniversary, but it's still getting in the works now. So yeah, and he like hovers over the computer sometime, like, what are you doing? What are you writing on? And I would like him to also be a part of it somehow, but it's still a surprise, and I didn't want him to see anything before and start, you know, I have you guys to do my, editing or Hollis. I don't want to go through my husband now for this. It's a book, like a love book to him, for us. So he's going to see that at the opening or whenever, like everybody else, a lot of other strangers. But it is very intimate because it's my husband. It sounds like you took the side of writing 2 essays. Hollis gave us options to do visuals as well with pictures
Did.
and audio or video recording as well. So I have done some meditation audios, and so I decided, let me just use my voice and put the essay part and verbalize it in audio. And
Oh,
we'll
it's
have, like,
awesome.
the QR code that will go. So we have like the beginning with pictures and just a few catchphrases, and then the QR code will open up to the audio and you'll hear the rest. So the I love you is my husband because it's a love story that people have told us for years, because I was in the Peace Corps in Africa and met my Marine Corps, boyfriend at the time, in Africa, in the middle of the Sahel Desert in Niger, West Africa. Nobody knows where this little dot is in the earth, but we fell in love there. So, and built a life together and built a family together. And 27 years later, I just wanted to honor that. And people are like, you met your husband, what, where, in the middle of Africa? You were
That
building
is,
you were building wells in a mud hut. What is this?
that's
So
awesome.
back of my mind, I said, I've got to put this somehow into a creative, authentic writing somehow. And so I like the idea that she could take pictures too. So you'll see some photos of like my past in the Peace Corps and then us further on. So, yep, I love you is all towards my husband, and then the I love me side is something that I think, because I'm a military spouse, a lot of us can struggle with, and my clients too, with self acceptance, self worth. We're sometimes just moving around with our spouses for an entire lifetime, an entire career in the military. So it's just pick up the kids, do this, don't talk to them. That's the boss. Stay behind. I call it sometimes like the wallflower. I'm like, some of us are like wallflowers, and now we're like peeling off the walls. We're retired now. We have a voice, and we're like, we're not. No, there's no sergeant or sergeant major or a colonel that's gonna, be able
Right.
to put us down or
Direct
anything.
your future.
Kind of scary now because now he's unleashing the beast. Kind of, he's like, what is my wife up to now? He leaves me for a few months, a few days, or not a few days, well, if he's fishing long range, but a few hours. And it's like, oh, now you're working on a book. Okay, like what else is she gonna do? So yeah, the I love me part is just that honoring of, myself and all of the triumphs I've overcome as a military spouse, 5 deployments, my husband being
Mm.
in the war zone, being shot at, me raising 2 kids alone, so being a single mom at
Yeah.
times when he was gone, and yeah, all that whole story. So I'm just putting it all out there, and who knows if it turns into a sequel, right? We start things with our writing, and you never know. But those are the key themes and the messages. So I'm really
I don't know about you, but I had a harder time writing the I love me part.
okay. We're unfrozen again, and so then putting all those messages together into just a language of love. Maybe it's a sixth language of love. We have the five love languages. We're creating some kind of movement with the sixth language of love, with all these different layers, with writing and pictures and QR codes and audio and video. So it's a whole new thing. I maybe there's another book out there like that, but far and few between. You
Right.
know. So.
Um, so I don't know about you, but I had a much harder time writing the I love me part.
Mhm.
Um, I that piece of it for me, I was like, I really don't know what to say because excuse me, I feel like um I'm so incredibly imperfect that um it was almost like a bad thing to try and toot my own horn in some respect. But I just started like literally it's a list of things that are just a part of who I am, and some of them are good and some of them are weird and some of them are bad, but I was like, this is me, like these are the things that make me me. And I don't always like all of them, but I accept all of them. And I am constantly like trying to improve and trying to be, like I said, cognizant, aware, um, especially with love and long-term relationships, it's easy to take your partner for granted.
Mm,
So like that's been something I've really been concentrating a lot on lately. My husband and I have been married for 25 years. Yeah. And like just this year in October, we celebrated. And I was like, we're like, of course, we knew each other before then. We worked together and a lot of other time spent prior to being married. But I'm like, we've known each other for so long. I really have to work at not taking him for granted, like that he's gonna wash my dishes because I left them in the sink. And those types of things. Like I'm like, I gotta
yeah.
still be in that mindset of us before.
Mm-hmm.
So, my I love me was like, I'm very imperfect. I will eat all the cookies. If you're not watching, I will, you know,
Yeah.
I will
No,
do,
it's
I will resort to being childish if you don't remind me to be an adult. Like,
yes, that's what partnership's about, that relationship, the yin and the yang, and you balance each
yes,
other out. So I think I might have been more in your shoes. We're all in those different seasons with the I love me and how much self-love we give to ourselves and all that. But because I've been in this coaching space for some time now, I've walked through other military spouses that have had that lack of love for themselves. So as you're coaching that, you're growing that more, appreciating that in yourself as well. So I think that part like 2 or 3 years ago, had I had this book in front of me, I might have had a blank page there for a while, but because I've been working so much on myself as I'm
right,
coaching other military spouses to have their voice and to shine after, retirement and to find their new living purpose with what they want to do with some dreams that maybe were on hold because they moved around with the military so much. And so I'm like, I'm all in now, like just get it out. So yeah, it's raw, it's messy, but that's okay. That's
yeah,
life.
yeah.
So
Well, I really was appreciating what you were saying about sort of always being the wallflower and you know the boss that's not the boss of you. And and you even said it, having to raise two kids alone and being shot at and like all the crazy things that you don't have control over when you are a military spouse or
mm,
in that similar scenario. And um
yeah.
that's
So when
some, not all of us deal with those things, but I
mhm,
think we all can relate to those ideas.
yeah. Yeah, and it's important to share that information. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. And um yeah, part of the reason I'm putting this book together too, I mean, the ending kind of goes into how my faith has held all this together because yeah, when we start bringing up all the trauma and the stuff and the trials that you go through, people say like, how did you survive that? Or how did you not leave? Or how did you still stay together? I mean, over 50% of military families or couples in marriages get divorced with the whole
Mm,
cycle. Yeah, it's a very high level because of all the separation, the stress added on, war,
yeah,
infidelity. It just goes on and on. So, the thing that I want to share with others, and now we're kind of maybe going into the third point of what we're hoping other people get out of this is to have a foundation, circles of support and your faith, something that you can hang on to when things are out of control, because nothing in control, we're not in control of anything in this life. And so we can only do so much on our own. And then there's got to be something else that you're leaning onto when you feel like you just like completely down in the dumps, like nothing else is coming your way. You're just completely exhausted doing the grind or whatever season of life you're in, anywhere from just the boyfriend and girlfriend dating to having to getting married to having babies to trying to co-balance working full time and maybe being a stay-home mom, a combination of the two.
right.
And then on to the season we're in now for my husband and myself, where I don't know what somebody else mentioned the other day, like the third season or something. I don't know how many seasons there are, but the third, it's yeah, after he's out of the military. He's been out for about 10 years. So
Oh, nice.
it's a second chance, and a new thing to create for ourselves. So I always say dream your way to your own new reality. Don't let your fears and inhibitions and saboteurs get in the way of things that you want to do. And so want to end with, keep hoping that I can reach people to just give them some inspiration and empowerment, to just, get out there and do what they want to do, and not to be afraid. And so,
Yeah. I,
because, yeah, go on.
I think that like empowerment is a great word
Hmm.
because um, everyone's experiences are authentic. And you were saying we need to spread joy and peace and like, what's the word I'm looking for? Good tidings, right? We want to
Yes.
spread love. We want people to feel love and acceptance. And I think by sharing our stories, that's how we do that. When
Hmm.
people hear about you and they share about themselves, right? You create that connection and
Hmm.
it lifts you both up. It exposes you both to other things and it really is beneficial. We our son played soccer and the team was very close and we were always like, who's got them now? Who can get them this? And it was this, it takes a village sort of mentality, but everybody was in it. Like nobody was like, oh, I can't drive so many kids. Everybody was like, who needs a ride? I'm there. Let's get it. Let's go. Whoop, 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 done. And that was really important. And,
Yeah.
keeping that mindset of we're all in it together.
Hmm.
So when you can share your story and someone can relate to your story, or someone can feel like they can walk in your shoes because they've read your words,
Hmm.
it's good for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, yeah, we're in it together, like you say, the community support, and that's big. The military is only what 1% of the population, so it's a very small group of people that have walked this path and this journey together. Anywhere from, maybe the young guy who just did 4 years, all the way to people like my husband who did 22 something years, so or more. I mean, I know some people are still in. They're like in their 30 years, still active duty. I'm like, you're still active duty? When are you getting on the retirement side? So having that support group for the women, because we did move around from base to base every 2 to 3 years. You're like having to make new friends, find a new church
Yeah.
home, new schools for the kids. It just was endless. It was a constant move, but of course there was, I always looked at it as a new opportunity to visit a new place and experience a new culture. We traveled to Africa and the West Indies and to Abu Dhabi, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, and Hawaii. Like we've had quite a colorful during the process. But one thing I do notice with the spouses is we miss that camaraderie. We miss that connection. So,
Right.
that's part of my, military spouse group empowerment program. I have groups I can meet with on Zoom, and we can be there to support each other, even if we're not physically in the same space. So you're doing the same thing, in your world in a school. I mean, teachers, my goodness, you're showing up every day for those kids, and really an art teacher teaching them. It's like a lost art to be an art teacher. And I thought some schools don't even have art anymore in there. Isn't it like the first thing that gets cut off the budget sometimes?
Yes,
Or
it is a lot of times. In New Jersey, it's
so,
still mandatory for high school graduation, so they have
okay,
to come
good.
see me.
Okay.
I
Okay.
actually,
Was there anything else on your mind before we
um,
end?
I have a student, I'm sorry, my cat is in a box scratching right now. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I have a student whose mom is a military spouse, and
Oh,
they're moving at the end of January to Wisconsin.
oh, wow.
He's
Gosh, maybe I
very
need to buy
upset.
that book.
He's only been in
Yeah.
our district about a year and a half, but he's like,
Oh,
and I was like, you're gonna be okay.
yeah.
I'm like, you're gonna be okay. So, but it's sort of listening to you talk about it made me think about that, how spouses and children really do get bounced around. So,
The wind's coming back a little more,
oh
but yeah,
yes,
you're
it
going to
got
be
us again, didn't it?
Yeah, so speaking of the children too, I mean, ideally, once this movement with the women and the spouses gets situated more, I definitely want to do something where I can connect with the kids too and be that support group, that mentor for them, because they need to be talking to other military kids that are moving around, that are having that same, the same struggles that they're having to make new friends and all that,
Right.
all the uncertainty with the moves. So definitely the kids, that's a whole other level, but we definitely need to take care of those military kids too. But I guess on another positive note, which I'll end, they do tend to grow up pretty independent. Our kids both yeah, by the time they graduated high school, I mean, they were like, bye. And I'm like, no, pick a school close to home. So I want to come to drive 2 hours away to see you or something. And one ended up in South Carolina, the other went to Idaho. And I
Nice.
mean, they were like, bye. And I'm like, well, I guess that was the point, to create, independent kids that are going out and living their life and getting their jobs and building their own faith. And so yeah, I'll end with that. The kids can be resilient, and they've been around so many different cultures. They just jump into situations, and they're usually the ones like getting people connecting, and getting right in there and make.
You're muted. There you go.
Okay, recording in progress. So I don't know if this is going to go on to another round, but I think we were just wrapping it up. So
Yes, we
in
were in
case
good shape.
we're in good shape. So thank you so much for joining me, and for diving
Thank you
deeper
for having
into
me.
our book, and looking forward to learning more and to reading your essays and getting into a deeper dive. But now I feel like this is so cool. I got to meet an author before it even came out. So 18 more authors to go, and a publisher at some point. So
You can do it.
we'll see who connects with who. But thank you so much for joining me.
You're very
And
welcome.
uh, let's see.
Thank you,
Are you
Vanessa.